And welcome now back live to the Sydney Football Stadium. There's a very good crowd on hand to see the battle about to take place between the Sharks of Cronulla and the Knights of Newcastle. Sharks taking the field with Adam Dykes in the team. 3 grand finals they've been to. Tonight they can be the first team through to the grand final of 2001. David Peachey, their captain, and one of the main weapons that they've got in the lineup. And so the Knights, taken out by Andrew Johns. And of course they played and won the grand final in 1997, the year of Super League. And they beat Manly in the ARL grand final that year. 50 busloads of supporters have come down the Pacific Freeway today to see this battle tonight. Here's the cards.
And only Darren Albert missing from the 17 that defeated the Roosters a fortnight ago. At fullback, O'Davis, Tahu and McDougall the wingers, Gidley and Hughes in the centres, Rudder at 5'8", Andrew Johns captain and halfback. Billy Peden locks the scrum behind Simpson and Kennedy, with the front row of Perry, Badiris and Parsons. Off the bench, Marquardt, O'Brien, Grief. Daniel Abraham comes in for Albert, their coach, Michael Hagan.
And the Sharks tonight missing Nathan Long from last week. He's out injured the second row. Their team is David Peachey fullback, Rogers and Gross on the wings, Mellor and Best in the centres. Dykes will play, got out of hospital about lunchtime today. Campbell's the halfback, Graham. Luke Stewart comes into the side, played well last week. He partners McNicholas in the second row, Jason Stevens, Marty Lang, Jason Ferris the hooker, interchange of Beattie, Pearce, Treaster and Sean Ryan back, coached by John Lang.
It has been a beautiful day in Sydney today, and the weather has continued into the night. Andrew is on the sideline.
And the weather matched by the atmosphere, incredibly tense down here. Great anticipation from the fans that are following both teams. One dream already smashed for the Knights, Ray. That's making the grand final in all 3 grades. They lost the under-20s, they lost the first division in extra time, but I think right now they'll settle for 1 out of 3.
Paul Simpkins in charge.
Behind the line, Sharkies. Keep behind it.
Time is on. Sudden death, preliminary final for the right to go through to the grand final next Sunday night.
Stand up.
At Stadium Australia. It is Newcastle with first use of the ball. That is Josh Perry who's tackled just outside his own 20-metre line. Newcastle, who disposed of the Sydney Roosters in stunning fashion, with Kennedy taking it ahead and being grounded heavily right on the halfway line by Jason Stevens. Now Johns,
Last tackle.
who was basically put out of business for the first 20 minutes of that game against the Sydney Roosters back at Marathon. Rudder's kick landing and rolling down towards that corner, the northwestern corner of the Sydney Football Stadium. So the Sharks then, they get their first use of the football inside the 20-metre line as Martin Lang. The head went back, heavy tackle on Lang.
And Ray, this is one area that the Sharks weren't that impressive against the Bulldogs last week, coming out from their own danger end. That's 4 tackles now, they're outside the 30, mistake-free football. And as Stevens goes towards the 40, let's see where Dykes is kicking from.
Stevens now, as it goes
Nick Graham, the kicker.
to Nick Graham. And that kick is coming down on the 20-metre line for the run back. The kick returned by Robbie O'Davis. He's linking up there with Adam McDougall. McDougall back on his own 40-metre line for Mark Hughes. Hughes taking it 19 metres away from the eastern touch line towards the halfway line. Badiris for Kennedy. And many people feel that for the Knights to win, it's not just a case of Johns playing well, but certainly a case of Kennedy continuing the great form that he's had in the last couple of months. Badiris again. Now for Peden. And Peden is brought down 25 metres out from the Sharks line. Now for Johns, and Johns goes to the air. First test of the night. And it's taken over there safely by Matt Rogers, wearing the number 2 jumper for the Sharks.
2, place. He's 10, wait.
Graham.
Hold, Josh.
Now Lang. To the 30-metre line now. The big fellow that has been
Wait.
the biggest getter of metres in rugby league, and his partner Stevens the closest behind him.
Last tackle. Stand up.
16 for the
No
Sharks.
early, side. No early.
Luke Stewart is playing in the second row. We saw him play some centre when they were in dire straits the other night. Now McDougall. It might not be a good policy to kick to him in broken field play.
Stand one. Hands off.
To the 40-metre line. Now with Gidley. And he showed certainly a return to form the other night in their match against the Roosters. Started the year with a broken leg, and his form had been down, but he certainly gave an indication that he was back somewhere near his best the other day, a fortnight ago against the Roosters side. Played by Parsons now 30 metres away from the line. Through to Johns, he cuts out Kennedy, cuts out another in doing so. The ball went very wide out to Peden.
Fast. Let him go.
And Peden will play the ball 25 metres away. They go for a blindside play. Johns puts the kick back off the outside edge. Oh! How lucky was that for the Sharks?
Yeah, great little set play there by the Knights. Johns kicking back in field for Robbie O'Davis. Adam Dice got back there just on the nick of time, flicked it up, and David Peachey was on deck to catch that one.
Hold here. Wait.
It's Colin Best now.
That's full. Back hold. Billy clear the
Ferris.
ball.
Martin Lang out to the 30-metre line.
Line. No earlies.
Kick for Campbell now, straight down the middle. Davis with a fairly long run across. The bounce was favourable. Campbell putting them all onside, making the tackle.
That was superb work there from Preston Campbell. The Knights had done well to confine the Sharks to their 30-metre line. He got a good kick away, found open space, and then led the charge, picked up 40 metres.
Three. Stand up.
McDougall finding
Take it away from him.
a lot of work on the left side for Newcastle. Tamana Tahu playing on the other side has not yet seen the ball. McDougall has touched the ball at least on 3 occasions, as the Australian hooker Danny Badeiras has put down now. 5 metres into Cronulla's area. It's away for Johns, and Johns puts a kick in that's going to find touch, and we're going to see a scrum go down on the 10-metre line. 20 metres in from touch on the Sharks' end of the ground.
And it's been a very safe start from both teams. That's no surprise in the opening 5 minutes of a semi-final or a grand final qualifier. That was Jason Stevens early on Ben Kennedy. And then both front rowers for the Knights, Matty Parsons and Josh Perry combined. Not a lot of ball movement as yet, but that will come.
Seconds go in. Locks in. Ball in, Preston.
Sharks ball. As they come away through Colin Best.
Keep it locked in.
Just inside his own 10-metre line for David Peachey to use Nick Graham, and Graham held down there by the Newcastle defence. That area of the ground is the northern end over on the eastern side, in front of quite a healthy crowd here for the first of the preliminary finals. Lang again, and he's been put down without any beg pardons by Matt Parsons, biggest player on the ground. Or maybe not, maybe McNicholas is just a shade bigger than him. 45 metres away from their own line. The team from Cronulla Sutherland finding Rogers down the left side. Centre kick, the bounce important. Newcastle get it through Robbie O'Davis. Kennedy's with him. Kennedy now.
Some great football there. Johnny Lang up and down. And now a penalty goes to the Knights. Infringement in the play the ball area. Beautiful pass from Dykes, wasn't it, out to Rogers. Little kick in. There was 3 of them chasing, 3 Sharks there. They couldn't get a bounce to save themselves. And from there, beautiful counter attack from Robbie O'Davis through Ben Kennedy.
Back and hold.
This is Simpson now.
One stand. Keep coming.
So 25 metres out from the line.
2 now. Let him up.
It is Perry.
Clear him, Jason. Hold.
Parsons this time. Taking a chance, a speculator finding Badeiras. Lofted pass finding Peden. Inside ball for Kennedy. One-handed for O'Davis. He wishes he never threw it. And Perry it is. Now for Johns. And again, a long ball out looking for Gidley and finding Gidley. 15 metres away from the Sharks line. No score on the board as yet. As Johns peppers them. Chance for Newcastle. Campbell coming up with the ball. That's the second time in the game. The Sharks have had a very good bounce of the ball in front of their own uprights. Now they get a penalty.
He's got the markers for not being square there. Andrew Johns seeing Sean Rudder on the outside. Little left footer coming through, unable to be cleaned up there by Brent Gross. Unfortunately, Preston Campbell, again, the right man at the right spot. Tremendous battle up front between these front rowers. As McDougall flies high, can't knock the ball back in. Great kick there, finds touch just short of the halfway mark.
So Lang again. Always willing, always ready. Stevens likewise. He formed a magnificent combination. Now here comes the ball loose, it'll be a penalty.
Yeah,
Rogers might take the shot from here, 38 metres out.
he could do, the wind is behind him. A silly rake out by Josh Perry. Tackle had been affected, two men in the tackle, and look at that. Just pulled it out.
So the Sharks, they want the full prize. They're going for 6. Peachy into the back line. Rogers. 18 metres away from the Newcastle line. For Graham now. Stewart, 17 times in the matches they've played this year. The Sharks have been first to score. Now from Campbell, it's gone across for McNicholas. He's able to stand, unable to pass. 5 in from touch. Ferris, Campbell, Dykes, Lang. Picked up his second career try in that match, in that win against the Bulldogs last weekend. Now for Dykes, then Graham, a dummy on the inside. He was trying to find Peachy. Defence converging. Now Peachy goes on the blind side, puts a grubbing kick in. Well read, O'Davis.
Wasn't well read initially by the Newcastle Knights. He found too much space down that short side. O'Davis slow to his feet, took quite a knock. As Andrew Johns, only 9 out from his own line.
Plenty of blood coming from the right eye of O'Davis, unless my binoculars are telling me lies, but I think Robbie O has got a problem. Gidley can't get a shot of it at the moment, but there was blood immediately from the right eye of O'Davis.
Well, it's been pointed out in the past that David Peachy does not go to dummy half to pass the football. Even if it's the last, he'll try something, and he did on that occasion. Johns drives it deep, in between Campbell and Peachy. The chase is one good line.
Dally M Player of the Year, Preston Campbell. 25 metres out from his own line. Now Best trying to fend away from his opposite number, Mark Hughes. 30 metres out from their own line. This is Brent Gross, one of the players from the Sharks that's leaving the club at the end of the year. This could be the final night for many of their personnel. Stewart, who comes under the same category, plays the ball on the halfway line. Stevens thunders ahead. The ball is loose. There's a chance here for Newcastle to come up with the ball. They have. Cronulla's Mellor appeals that he was held back off the ball, and he might have a case. He may have a case there, but it's too late now. John. From O'Davis, who's obviously okay. Simpson taken low by Dykes. Not wearing that bandage on the knee that he was last weekend. All I can see is a little band-aid, I think, over the area that became infected. Newcastle attacking, 15 out. Oh, Rudder juggled it, then got rid of it. McDougall burrows, then gets it away. He must have left 3 behind him. O'Davis will play it then. right in front of the uprights. They're 7 metres from the first try as Johns puts it back and across, and Campbell marks it in goal. 20-metre restart for the Sharks.
Oh yeah, Preston Campbell read that so well. Simpkins just pulls that little play back. No one was ready for it. Campbell's been defending on this right wing. As soon as he saw Andrew Johns heading for the football, he drifted inside and he was there on the spot to take it.
Stand up. Open the line and hold. Hold.
One player who's been a standout in the opening stanza for the Knights has been their big fella Matt Parsons. 7 hit-ups, all averaging about 10 to 15 metres every time he gets the football.
Graham now. Exhilarating start to the game. Both teams have had chances. If the ball has favoured either, though, it's bounced, luckily for the Sharks, on a couple of occasions when they've been under siege down their own end of the park. Here's Stevens now, rumbling up the middle. Played back for Ferris. Campbell's with it. Campbell then puts the kick up. Chasing is Mellor. Is he onside? Tahu fielding it for the Knights of Newcastle. For O'Davis, a dummy half to find Gidley, who tries to stand up Ferris. He beats him. Taken down by Graham. 15 metres out now from the Newcastle line as Bill Peden is tackled just beyond his own 20-metre line. Play coming down the eastern side. Perry with a strong run. No thought of passing, just simply a really strong run up the middle. Mark Hughes.
Last on the 10, no earlies, Adam. Adam, I'm here.
Here's Johns again. His kick down over the head of Peachy, not giving Peachy a chance to run onto the ball and hit it at top speed. Campbell is tackled. Sharks grossly outnumbered, of course, on that occasion. And the play the ball has seen Gross put that right hand up in the face of Danny Badeiras before being put away. Gross is lining Adam McDougall on this near side of the ground, the eastern side. Here's Graham playing it now.
And already on a couple of occasions, McDougall has tried to be very physical with Brent Gross, trying to impose himself on his opponent. As McNicholas looked to do the same, taking it outside the 40. Last tackle against the Sharks.
Hold him, Matt.
Dykes. O'Davis. Here's Tahu. Oh, good tackle by Campbell. Sometimes you wonder why they want to hide him on the flanks in defence. McDougall.
Play on.
Johns.
Well, that pass even fooled the referee. He called for the play. The ball hadn't realised the ball had been thrown as Parsons again takes it forward. What a start from the big man, and an offload to Badeiras.
Badeiras is through. Pulled down desperately from behind by Stewart. Now Rudder. Long ball finding Gidley. Catch and pass. Gidley back turned. Made no difference. Tahu's heading for the corner. He came down short and he's into touch.
One of the great tackles, Paul Mellor, gave him a start, chased him, pulled him down, knocked him into touch. His teammates would be very happy with that one. Tahu looked like he was going to score a try. How close did he get? But the legs were into touch. Beautiful tackle. Got him around the hips and slid down. A classic cover defending tackle, that one.
Wonderful ball also from Matthew Gidley to get Tahu on the outside of the Cronulla defence.
Tackle count about level. 77 for Newcastle, 71 for Cronulla as Mellor takes it out from the 5/8 row. Here's Graham. Nick, of course, picked up the first try for the Sharks last weekend. Here's Stevens. And he'll play the ball just outside the 30. Let's go to the sideline, Andrew.
Well, it's bad news for the Sharks early. Jason Ferris, we saw getting some treatment on the sideline. He has gone to the dressing rooms with the doctor. It is an arm injury, and I've got to say it did look serious for Jason Ferris. That's the reason that Dean Treaster's out there. You mentioned that matchup between Brent Gross and Adam McDougall. It's not the case when the Sharks are defending. Gross is in fact defending inside of both Preston Campbell and Colin Best.
Well, McDougall didn't present a problem there. Here's Hughes. And you can see the impact of the tackle there. Strong from Dean Treaster, who Andrew has just explained is on there for Jason Ferris at the moment. Gidley got around him. Tahu chased by Mellor. That contest continued. Gidley. Magnificent hands by Gidley. Johns. Rudder. Hughes. McDougall with a juggle. Goes back in field. And McDougall will play it 17 out from the line. Peden away for O'Davis. Fifth tackle now for Newcastle. Johns, the kick, and Campbell. Magnificent work by Preston Campbell. Sure, there might have been a shade of luck, but wasn't it great?
I don't believe that. I don't believe a human being can do what he just did then, Preston Campbell.
Hands off.
It was incredible hands.
Sean Rudder was putting the ball down.
And look at this.
One-handed flick up, another one, and then caught it. Fantastic.
Four, let him up. Clear him, Billy.
We must be getting very close to interchange. Been an energy-sapping first 18, 19 minutes as the ball goes down. Towed through by
Newcastle's got a chance. Ben Kennedy. Kennedy's over. They're going to go to the video referee, but it looks like Ben Kennedy has scored for the Knights.
Yeah, there's been a mistake made down the right-hand side by Nick Graham. He lost the ball or tried to pass it, ended up on the deck, then it was towed through, and no one at home for the Sharks. And it appears, well, Ben Kennedy's very confident that he's got there first. Nick Graham went across the field, strong tackle. It was knocked out by Sean Rudder and then kicked through. Gross couldn't get there. He slipped over on his knees. Look at Ben Kennedy. He came through and kicked it.
He does take a long time to get down on this ball, Paul. Just have a look at when Peachy comes in. You think he might have dived there. He actually just look as though from that angle he's okay, but he took a while to get down.
Yeah, judging by Peachy's reaction after the try, he knows that he missed David Peachy. Gets his left foot to it, I think. Kennedy kicks it virtually out of Gross's grasp. So we're seeing some exciting football here in the opening 20 minutes of this semi-final. And, ooh. Well, has he grounded it or gone over it?
I think it's okay, Paul.
Let's watch it again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a try.
It doesn't matter that he's missed it with his arms, as long as part of that, the torso, forces with downward pressure. It doesn't matter an iota that he might have missed it with his arms and his hands.
We did mention earlier that the Sharks had made a few mistakes against the Bulldogs coming out from their own end last week. Dogs didn't take advantage as the green light comes up.
Try for Newcastle. Here it is again. The tackle. The ball is dislodged by the tackle of Rudder. The referee has got no drama with Rudder actually knocking the ball forward. The ball was lost in the tackle. The only thing I can even remotely think of that might have been an objection was an indiscriminate kick. But I don't think I've seen that applied for a long, long time. This kick here, as Gross takes the ball in, there may have been some hint that it might have been an indiscriminate kick, but I've never seen it applied. I remember down at Brookvale one day, Matthew Ridge, to save a try, did exactly that. The grounding, suspect, but I'm confident that he's forced it with the body. Somewhere between the waist and the shoulders. Johns now. Johns from the sideline almost has got it. It is 6-0 in the first sudden death final. Knights 6, Sharks nothing. So back to the halfway line. What a start. Something had to break. And Rogers kicking off down towards the Newcastle goal mouth. First play of the restart is with Matt Parsons, and he plays it inside his own 20-metre line. Converted try to Newcastle, scored by Ben Kennedy, and it came at the 17th minute of the first half. Here's O'Davis now, using Kennedy again. Kennedy for Hughes, and he's pulled down by Gross. Kennedy finding himself involved again, and tackled on the halfway line. Here's Parsons.
Last, market square again. Hold at him.
Johns to the air and very, very high. Tahu went up and had an air swing. Simpson's pass is ill-directed, and Badiris now puts another shot on it. Bouncing down towards Peachy and Campbell. Campbell. A ring around him, and Rudder's gone high.
Oh, you got Sean Rudder here. It was more like a grab than anything else, but it did, I think, initial contact. Well, he just wasn't even a head-eye tackle, really. He grabbed him around the collar and pulled him down. But the referee was on the spot, and he's given a penalty. I mean, Campbell got up and just played the ball straight away, but a penalty has been given.
22 minutes gone in the game. Stevens. Just short of halfway for the Sharks. Lang making that point. And Parsons standing up very strong in both defence and attack. Through from Dykes. Finding Best. Best in the centres with Chris McKenna missing. Stewart. 6-0. Newcastle leading. And then Telstra puts a kick in. They're coming fast behind him. Rogers! Rogers has got a try, I think.
I reckon he has too. A little kick from Dean Telstra, and Robbie O'Davis took it very casually. And I reckon Matty Rogers got the ball down here.
Certainly looks that way. The only thing that the referee is concerned about is whether he's offside, and he has mentioned the grounding. The grounding seemed to be fine. I thought both the winger and O'Davis took it very casually, and they paid the full penalty. Well, they're 5 and 6 metres onside. That is no drama. Tahu again coming back slowly. Could have got in the road of Rogers in coming through legally. Seems to be okay to me.
Well, O'Davis certainly hasn't grounded the ball, and Rogers was onside, and he looks to have grounded the ball fair and square. They're high-fiving out there.
Very reminiscent of the incident we saw last week, Ray, with Amos Roberts and Jamie Ainscough. Winger just allowing the fullback basically to come across and get the football. If anything untoward happened, as the try sign goes up, when they didn't have a plan B, and the Sharks have hit back.
Yeah, that is a good hit back too from the Sharks after a shock try against the run of play by the Knights. A mistake made, first of all, by Cronulla. That was a Newcastle try. Now, this is a dead set mistake made by Newcastle. Very poor play in goal there. And nice work from Telstra. He got hammered after that, but Rogers, how quick is he? Never took his eyes off the football in that 30-metre run. Had one goal only. Get the ball down, and he got there.
I can't quite work out what Robbie O was doing as we watch the celebrations. Why, if he was going to try and pick it up in an awful position, why would he just dive on it?
Well, he wasn't going anywhere, was he, if he had picked it up?
Rogers has fallen over as he takes the kick. It's offline. Newcastle hold the lead by 2 points after 25 minutes. 6-4. With a Welcome now to our audiences outside Australia in the UK, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea, who've been with us all year. Stevens on the carry back. You're watching the wide world of sports, and it is the first preliminary final you're watching. 6-4 in favour of Newcastle. Beattie is on in 14 for Cronulla. The third prong of this magnificent wedge they have up front. Dykes has been flattened. Was it late? Yes, it is!
Yeah, Josh Perry, the culprit, laid him straight out. He's got up now. But it was late and high.
Andrew, on control of this.
Badiris comes through and does the damage. And you would believe from that shot that he did have time to make a decision not to go through. So we see O'Brien and Greith prepare to come into the action, and an opportunity now for Rogers to level things up here after just under 26 minutes.
Just on Adam Dykes, Pete, obviously he spent 3 or 4 days in hospital, got an infected knee, and it's showing tonight that he would have lost a bit of strength throughout the week, and he's obviously not 100%, but he's out there. Hasn't run the football too much tonight. He's given some good passes, kicking game's been okay, but he looks a bit just off.
And most notably, Paul, he hasn't kicked the football either. Nick Graham, the very first one of the game, we see Treece to kick out of dummy half then. That is normally his responsibility.
Rogers there. 12 in from touch. And again he's offline. It's most unlike Matt Rogers to miss them by that much. Still Newcastle by 2, Andrew.
And Ray, on the bench, things have got better for the Sharks. Jason Ferris back from the rooms. We're told by the doctor, Jason actually lost feeling in his right arm. It's a pinched nerve, but he will be back later in the game.
Beattie now.
Let him up.
Jason Ferris there.
Oh.
Now Graham running across there, trying to pick up Stewart, who is coming straight. The Sharks. Paul Mellor. Well, they're getting the better of the back half of the opening stanza, the Sharks. Stevens. 19 is Sean Ryan. Recently back from injury. To the blind side for Treece. Back on the inside, it's loose. And it is a knock-on against Nick Graham, the number 13.
Yeah, Treece out of dummy half, almost past this blind. We saw a glimpse of a blue and black jumper back there, but I think Nick was too happy with that. Having a good game, Nick Graham, tonight, making plenty of metres and plenty of good offloads in him.
Gidley now, bringing it almost out to the 20-metre line. As I said, the Knights, they had more opportunities in the opening 20 minutes, but more recently it's been the Sharks just getting the upper hand a little bit, even though not reflected on the scoreboard.
And tackles like that from Jason Stevens will lift the side even more. Really coming into their own now, the Sharks, taking a few more chances with the football and defending stoutly as McDougall works his way off the wing. 4 tackles, 45 out from his own line.
So the Knights with a very wide back line, and John steps, gets it back on the inside. Daniel Abraham is on in 17. Johns again, kicking off that outside edge of the boot. And it's gone over the dead ball line for the 20-metre restart. Not giving PG any problems at all. Andrew Pearce going on, Luke Stewart coming off. Johns has applied that kick pretty much all night long. When you think that it's going to go one way, he quite on purpose steers it off the other edge of the boot. Here's Pearce with that right knee, that troublesome right knee, heavily strapped as usual. And Graham, oh! Johns just absolutely nailed him. Ryan. Campbell looking for him. Yes, he's got it. He got the rebound. And pressure again for Newcastle. Oh, he knocked on. Well, they've sent them out for a line dropout anyway.
I thought he had two, Ray, but Simpkins said it went back. He's facing that goal line, but I reckon it's a dead set knock forward. And the referee missed it, but it doesn't matter. He was tackled anyway. What about the work from Preston Campbell? The beautiful little kick. He picked up on the run, then put another one in and chased up and made the tackle.
The great thing about Preston's game tonight is that his defence has been as good as his attack, and that is saying something.
McDougall it was that quite definitely knocked on. And the line dropout is not that brilliant. Campbell tries to open them up, and he is banged into the ground by Clinton O'Brien in 15. Andrew Pearce. Graham knocked on. So Dykes was coming through on the angle very fast. And a knock on off that ball from Nick Graham.
That is a real let-off against the Knights. You could just feel the momentum continue to build there with the Sharks. And any time in these final series that sides get consecutive sets of 6, they are always looking to take advantage of that. And the Sharks had a chance on that occasion.
Here's Sean Rudder now.
Let him up. Hands up, Peach.
Knights leading by 2. 6 points to 4. And 31 minutes of the game gone. Here's Rudder working through the middle. Badiris for Grief. And then for Johns. Newcastle now have got their relief front row forwards on. And one of them getting it away for Johns, and Johns away for Marquardt. He puts it down. Peachy picks it up. Peachy's away. There's a try for Cronulla. It is only academic now. Peachy saluting the crowd, puts the ball down. The Sharks are in front.
Well, he's going to check this. David Peachy, for some reason, ran right up to the dead ball line before he put the ball down. Simpkins was just obstructed and just wants to make sure he got it down inside the chalk.
Well, that will be devastating for Newcastle, and it will be an incredible lift for the Sharks. Fortunate with their first try. This try now is okay. No dramas there. Not quite sure why he would have gone so close. But the points on the board will count. And David Peachy, after Newcastle had looked dangerous. Marquardt trying to find a flying Robbie O'Davis, I believe. Instead found the other number 1. Yeah, that's right. He puts it down well. The try well short of the
Why would you do that? That's unbelievable.
But again, they had an opportunity, Newcastle there, and David Peachy. Such a fine individual player. Has been able to come up with the 3rd try of the game. 2 in a row now for the Sharks.
More importantly, it's been scored right under the dot, and this is how it presented itself.
Well, just have a look. They're getting into a position themselves here. As we freeze it, you can see that's Robbie O'Davis coming in. David Peachy is way back, and he's got to come in and do something as play continues. And what he does is actually pick up the stray ball on the run and slices through, and immediately 4 or 5 Newcastle heads went straight down. They couldn't believe it.
And then, why does he do that? Maybe just rubbing some salt into injury. Converted by Rogers. Now the Sharks lead by 4 at 10-6. 7 minutes to go, first half. Just when it looked like it was boiling up to something. For Newcastle, they have a converted try racked up against them. Stevens Second tackle on this set of 6 for the Sharks, after Newcastle was forced to kick off again in response to a converted try by Cronulla, who now lead 10 points to 6. 2 tries to the Sharks, both off Newcastle mistakes. Dykes, and finding the line, looking to see where he kicked it from, but
well outside the 40, but still a good kick from Adam Dykes. And with just 6 minutes to go in this game, we have a look at the statistics for both teams when they've led.
Sure you're up with it, Chris. You're playing the ball.
Newcastle have led this season on 17 occasions at halftime. They've won 14 and drawn 1. The Sharks have led 18 times and have also led 14 times and drawn 1. They are both very good front runners in the second 40 minutes.
Kennedy this time. It's Marquardt. In fact, it was Abraham. This is Marquardt. Into a gap. Finds McDougall. McDougall back on the inside. Mark Hughes. Danny Badiris. Daniel Abraham. Johns. And that should roll over the dead ball line. It does. Miller from the 20-metre restart. And back for Matt Rogers for a dummy half run by the winger.
This is an absolutely huge 4.5 minutes coming up to the break. If the Sharks could cross again, they would build up a big lead in this kind of football with 40 to go. If Newcastle could score, psychology of the match would change, the momentum would change. They could find themselves in front. Big 4 minutes for both teams.
Stevens now getting it 40 metres away from Newcastle's line. Through from Graham for Dykes. The ball has gone forward out to Rogers. No call on it. Centre kick fielded by Kennedy. 15 away from his own line. Now for Marquardt again.
2 up and square, Chris.
Sharks with an imposing record of recent times. They've won 11 of their last 13. But they've won only 2 of their last 7 against Newcastle. Johns weaving, unloading, but finding Dean Telstra. Telstra finding Peachy.
1 and go, hands off him.
To the short side, Graham.
2, back to 10.
Dykes. Beattie. Good tackle on Beattie. Dislodging the ball and giving it back to Newcastle. Played by Rudder. Abraham. For Tahu.
1. Back it comes, Jason. Chris.
Badiris. Grief in 16.
2, release. Stand up, Jason.
Nearly to the halfway, the Knights. That look forward. And it's been called.
Yeah, just every time they're building up for something, the Knights, something goes wrong for them. Andrew Johns really coming into the game now. Every time he runs now, he's beating 2 and 3, linking up with supports. And out in this wing, Adam McDougall in attack is marking up against Preston Campbell in defence. And he's absolutely salivating, waiting for a crack at him, but so far it hasn't happened.
Together. Denny in. Arms around it, Denny.
Dykes. Peachy. It's a difficult catch for him. Way out in front. And under the pressure of the tackle. Graham. Clinton O'Brien and Glenn Grief cleaning him up. Now Pearce, offload for Campbell. Campbell beating Johns. The ball goes away on the second bounce, picked up by Gross.
3, 1,
38 metres out now from the Newcastle line for Stevens. Stands back and lets it go. It's gone through Telstra over to Graham. Graham on the inside for Beattie. Beattie tackled by Badiris with some help. Colin Best, Adam Dykes, David Peachey, Dean Telstra, Matt Rogers. Came off Newcastle. They may have knocked on. Yes, they have. Little window here with a minute and a quarter to go for Cronulla. Loose head and feed for them after this.
No doubt Tamata Tahu played at the football, knocked on in doing so. And that 4 minutes I was talking about as being so important for both sides is now down to 1 minute or just under. They'll have 6 tackles here, the Sharks.
So they come out to centre. Colin Best. 45 seconds of the half to go. Graham heading towards that corner that was friendly to him last weekend. Telstra for Campbell. Campbell for Pearce. Pearce with a dummy. And he was probably looking for Beattie coming up on the other side. Telstra 10 metres out in front of the uprights for Campbell. Campbell for Dykes. Dykes away, finding Mellor. He loses the ball. That will just about get us to half-time. They are 98 metres away from the line with Daniel Abraham surging up the ground for Newcastle. Robbie O'Davis. And there is the siren. First half, very much Newcastle in the first half of it, but the Sharks struck back with 2 tries off Newcastle mistakes. And at half-time, the Sharks of Cronulla lead 10-6 in the first preliminary sudden death final. The right to go to the grand final tomorrow night week to play the winner of Parramatta and Brisbane tomorrow afternoon. We will take a break. Peter and Paul will review the first half of the action for you in just a moment. We're back on the Wide World of Sports after this. Very good crowd in as we welcome you back here at the Sydney Football Stadium. You're watching the first preliminary final. Newcastle trailing by 4 points to the Cronulla Sharks. And we are 40 minutes away from knowing which will be the first club through to the grand final. There's a section of the crowd. It's, I would imagine, in excess of 30,000 here tonight. And that's a very big tribute when you consider that one of these clubs has had to make a very long trek to be here. And of course that team is Newcastle. Busloads of them. And a lot of red and blue out there. But of course they're trailing at the moment to David Peachey's Cronulla Sharks. So teams back on the park as we have a look at the possession flow.
Thanks to Tui's new, and you can see there the red columns are each individual set of 6 for the Newcastle Knights. It was a great start early. You can see a lot of red columns. That's not surprising. There was a fair bit of one-out stuff. The last 15 minutes for the Knights, not good. They're the black columns, the error columns. In fact, their last 3 possessions, they came up with mistakes. 14 completions from 20, that's not bad. Now, if their opponents, the Sharks, they've also got a stack of these tall blue columns, and you can see that they're putting them together. 3 sets of 6 in a row there, another 3 there, 2 there. That's great stuff. But they too, late in the match, came up with quite a few errors, and that went 3 in a row there, and 2 out of their last 3 possessions also losing the football. They can both improve.
And the match stats there, line breaks 2-1 to the Sharks. The tackles really crept up on Newcastle late. A lot of ball for the Sharks late in that first half. The missed tackles there, 17 out of 135, pretty high percentage. Lang wouldn't be happy with that. And of those tackles for the Knights, 25 to Billy Peden, having a big game in defence.
Paul Simpkins about to call time into the second half. So Newcastle trailing by 4, 2 tries to 1. And Andrew will be back with his report from the dressing sheds in just a moment as Stevens takes his first play of the second half away to the 20-metre line. And now it's for Chris Beattie out to the 30-metre line for the Sharks. Pearce. He and Beattie basically came into the game at the same time. They'll go on now for another probably 15 minutes before they'll be sent back to the benches. Stevens again.
Well, both coaches have left themselves with plenty of interchange up their sleeve, only 4 each against them. In fact, the first one wasn't made till about the 25th minute. That was reasonably late as McDougall takes it comfortably, 18 out, finds O'Davis.
And it's Robbie O'Davis who's put down just outside his own 20-metre line. Andrew Johns away from dummy half and able to unload for Robbie O'Davis. O'Davis gets through a gap, looks for McDougall, finds McDougall.
Well, they are 2, let him go.
Mark Hughes. 16 is Glenn Grief. And the Knights then. A good run out of dummy half from Johns has set them alight, and Mark Hughes is tackled only about 15 metres away from the south-eastern corner as Johns again probes for an opening. And this is the last tackle now for the Knights. Badeiros looking around, looking at his options. Rudder puts a kick in and fielded close in there by Adam Dykes. Mellor. Rogers as Cronulla adopts little fast men out from dummy half, setting the foundation on the early tackles of the tackle count before sending it away to Nick Graham to clear it down for McDougall to come away from the 30-metre line and able to get it out to the 40-metre line. A very strong run by McDougall. Here's Hughes.
Make it back, Chris.
Now from Badeiros, they go to the short side for Marquardt. And they're making some yards around the play-the-ball area, just on the edge of the play-the-ball. They're making very big inroads. Something like 10 metres each run, and now they're pushing the ball through Rudder, finding Daniel Abraham. And Abraham will play the ball on the 5th tackle, 20 metres out from the line. Here's Johns again. Johns down the blind side. Oh, he picked up Kennedy with a lovely ball. Kennedy couldn't do anything with it, tried to flick the ball away. The ball on the ground, it's with Cronulla, and Sean Ryan starts his way across the park.
That's one, let him up. Hands off him, hands off. Wait.
Just inside the 30-metre line then. As Stevens goes down the left of the ground, and they come back down this eastern touch line, down the short side. Played by Mellor as Rogers gives it away for Beattie, and that a clash of bodies as Glenn Grief and Chris Beattie come together. Play back and away from Telstra across to Pearce. Pearce onto Campbell. Campbell slides through a gap, goes inside the 40-metre line, gets it back for David Peachey, who knocks on. It will be a scrum inside the 30-metre line. Another blinding run by Campbell.
Oh, wasn't it ever? It was a pretty good try-saving tackle too by Paul Marquardt, because he was away, had supporting Peachey, and the tackle just missed up the timing of the pass.
A look of confidence on the face of the Cronulla captain. Andrew's back from the sheds. Yes, Andrew.
Well, first of all, from the Newcastle room, certainly no panic. Michael Hagan was pretty happy with his team's performance. He said, look, we've created enough chances in that first half. Let's not force the pass, but at the same time, retain confidence in our game. And from the Sharks side of things, a delighted John Lang with the first 40 minutes. His only criticism was some of the Sharks' marker defence. He thought that had been a little sloppy. I inquired, did John Lang have anything to say to David Peachey about that try in the first half, putting it down just before the dead ball line? I was told there was a look, but no words.
Thank you, Andrew. Clinton O'Brien now. There's Newcastle. Challenge. The Sharks 20-metre line. Kennedy. They couldn't get him over the sideline. Last tackle is in progress. McDougall, Johns, they've got numbers. Kennedy, down it goes again. Picked up by Marquardt. And it's eventually taken to ground by Badeiros, the tackle made by Cronulla. They come away from their own end of the park with Nick Graham.
Let him go. Bring it back, come on, Glenn.
That looked promising for Newcastle. This is Paul Mellor shrugging away. A would-be tackle. And now he's put down on the 30-metre line, centre of the ground. Telstra scurries away. Quick play the balls by Cronulla. Have got some of these Newcastle forwards struggling a little bit. Clinton O'Brien, he had it 5 times and dropped it 5 times.
And got no advantage out of it, so it will be a double knock on. The first one against the Sharks. It's been an unusual start to this second half. Newcastle are making many metres. The men getting back deep. So too the Sharks, they're getting there out of dummy half.
Still a 4-point ball game. You're watching the first of the preliminary finals tonight. You'll see the other one, Parramatta and Brisbane, tomorrow afternoon. 4 o'clock in Sydney. Check your local guides and other centres. And it's offside against Cronulla. Breaking early from the scrum is the call. Differential penalty. And it was the lock forward, Nick Graham, who was penalised by Paul Simpkins. So Newcastle with a very good chance now. And they take the first play straight down the short side with Clinton O'Brien. He's 16 metres away from the Cronulla line.
They push McDougall into the centres, Hughes onto the wing.
Here's Rudder finding O'Davis. And O'Davis is pulled down by Brent Gross. 12 metres away as McDougall comes back onto the 10-metre line. And again, Newcastle forced back, denied by Cronulla. Now for Johns, and then for Rudder, and then for Johns, and now for Hughes, but the sound of the whistle.
Forward pass.
There was a forward pass.
Johns to Rudder. There's been some words exchanged between Andrew Pearce and Andrew Johns.
You've got the forward pass, Paul. You go to him, you risk his penalty.
That's the pass that was ruled forward. He's just geeing up and pushing the mush.
There's concern here for Matt Rogers.
He does look in trouble, doesn't he, Matt Rogers? Maybe some concussion. Somebody hit round the jaw area. Let's have a look where Rogers is. He comes in now, and it's just a collision with Robbie O'Davis.
So he seems okay. As the scrum packs in front of the uprights on the southern end.
The Sharks will be very happy to have seen Andrew Johns react that way. They will have seen frustration written all over that push on Andrew Pearce, and it will make them more confident.
Colin Best. Gross. Well, Johns admitted that in that clash down at Toyota Park when they went down 49-30 in the match when he put the forearm on Adam Dykes, that it was frustration that came into his game that night. Stevens. Campbell away. Pearce on the run. Campbell at acting half now. Dykes able to get the kick away, sending Tahu back, getting a friendly bounce, and then back it across for O'Davis, and he's tackled by David Peachey, defending up on the front line. Gidley, haven't seen a lot of Gidley. He's probably got to put himself into the game, even if he's got to go looking for it. McDougall near the halfway. Badiris. Newcastle now doing some little scoots out from dummy half. Work for Cronulla. Now it's working for them. Johns up the middle. Ball comes loose. And Simpkins will call it back.
He's making the tackle. He's making the tackle.
And he is becoming very frustrated, Joey Johns, tonight. He's made a couple of these half breaks, and it's always looked as though something will come of them. But on that occasion, a strong tackle by Chris Beattie forced the ball loose. And Johns is looking for play on. Wasn't to be, according to the referee.
Box in, bind in, stay in, it's out.
Miller.
One, let him up.
Clutching grab at the ball, saving it.
Two, work
Sean
on.
Ryan.
Andrew.
in the side for Nathan Long. Sharks coming into the game without Long and McKenna. There's the missed tackle count. Pearce limping across the ground as he always does. Brave man. Best. Gross. Taken down by Hughes. Now from Best. Dykes in the middle of the ground almost. Graham looking inside for Telstra.
That's 5 last.
And Peden about to come back into the game. Dykes. And this very high kick. Up goes Tahu. Oh, beautiful take. Lovely take by Tamana Tahu. Rudder. O'Davis. Smothered by Ryan. Assisted by Dykes. Johns. Pulled down by Dykes. O'Davis.
That's 4.
Fourth tackle. 5 metres into Cronulla's area. Simpson.
Last tackle. Let the leg go. Well, work back, Nick.
Peden back on. Johns. A mile of time to kick. And then it's taken in the in goal by Peachy. So whatever it was meant to do, I don't think it happened the way it was intended. It really turned out to be a nothing kick.
I just think he's trying too hard, Andrew Johns. You just got to let it happen. You don't try and manufacture plays in this game. You just get into the flow and allow things to happen, and it will. But
Graham.
you've really got to praise the Sharks' scrambling defence. It's been superb tonight. They are covering each other so well.
That's 3. Square again, Marcus.
6 changes made by Newcastle. 5 the Sharks.
That's 4. Then stand up.
Right in the centre of the ground. McNicholas back into the game.
Last. Back and hold.
He's really proved to be one of the stars for the Sharks in the last couple of months. Peachy's after the kick from Graham. O'Davis. And he is tackled down there by Telstra and Peachy. McDougall.
2. Release. Here it is, Andrew.
Simpson.
That's 3. Let him go.
Just inside the 30-metre line. Newcastle running away from the northern end of the ground, the Paddington end.
Back, hold with me.
O'Brien.
Last tackle.
Newcastle unable to breach Cronulla. Try as they might, they just really haven't been able to open them right up. They've looked promising, they've looked dangerous, but it just hasn't eventuated. And they're starting to get more and more frustrated.
And Andrew Johns just signalled to the bench. He's in a bit of trouble there with a leg injury. When he kicked that football, he couldn't stretch out and chase it.
2. Make the line.
There's the kick that Paul's talking about.
And he takes off after it, and he pulls up.
Yeah, it's the groin. Campbell toes it through, but a knock on against the Sharks as we see Johns in distress.
And there's the ball coming free from the tackle on Chris Beattie. So, bad news for Newcastle. That groin, that well-documented injury for Andrew Johns. Looks like it's come back at the most inopportune time. Peden.
2. Release.
You can see
Hands off.
the enthusiasm of the Cronulla defence. Glenn Grief.
Then go. Pull back, Nick.
It's going to be hard for Newcastle to grind out a victory here. Johns away for Rudder. Rudder dummies, then finds Kennedy up the middle, but they're waiting for him.
Hands off.
They're waiting on every corner. Rudder to the outside men, finding Gidley, and then Tahu down the sideline, tracking a passage straight along the line.
Yeah, well, it's just great. Sharks defence forcing Newcastle to do that, forcing them out over the touchline. Nowhere to run, nowhere to go. It's great defence, and Newcastle chewing up their replacements. They're interchanged, 8 now out of 12.
I think they're well on top of the Sharks at the moment. But the great thing about Newcastle is that they can produce something from nothing. So the one thing that the Sharks have got to realise that they don't feel as though things are going well for them. If they lose concentration, it would hurt them. But if they keep going the way they're going, they win this game.
Well, the great thing about Newcastle, Pete, is still only 4 behind.
Stevens. Who'd you tip, Peter?
I went the Knights, and I was still confident we're going to have a grandstand finish here, even though the Sharks are going along beautifully. As I say, Newcastle, they attack better than anybody. Whether they can defend that, I don't know.
Here's Gross. Nailed out there by McDougall. Dummy from Pearce, looking back on the inside for Peachy. Didn't come off that time. Graham. Robbio. Accelerating. Oh, gee. Beattie looked to take him late. Here's Tahu. And he's lost it.
Yeah, big defence once again. A fairly innocuous looking tackle. Yeah. Just watch Chris Beattie. The big fella doesn't make many tackles like that. He couldn't pull out of it.
This is going to be an interesting decision here. We've got a mistake against the Knights, but it may well be a penalty against Beattie.
Okay, so same as the kickers, mate. You got a penalty from that. If he hasn't got the ball, you leave him alone. Touch judge's report.
Well, it was late, but the big fella was intent on making the tackle. He'd lined him up and decided to go on with it, and it's cost them possession and about 30 metres.
Well, I'm in no way surprised that a touch judge went in. Chris Beattie was, but I'm certainly not. Beattie's immediately been pulled back to the bench. It might have been that time anyway. Perry. Now Badiris. Rudder to the 20. Comes off his left foot but runs into trouble. In fact, there's trouble all over the park. They're there. Every time they see what looks to be a gap, there's a Cronulla jumper waiting. Now O'Davis. 12 metres out from the line, tackle number 5. A window for Newcastle as Johns puts a kick in. Rogers is there. Rogers will be forced in goal. There's some light there for the Knights. And Johns getting a quick massage of that thigh muscle. This is the last time Johns kicked.
Keep behind, mate.
And you can see he's in awful pain.
Well, that's a job that's got to go to somebody else now. Still think you need Johns kicking in general play, but kicking for touch, it's got to be someone else who can take over that responsibility.
First, stand, hold.
Played by Tahu now. Parsons.
2.
Who was so good early on.
Hands off him, Dean.
Perry. They expect big things from Josh Perry. They'd love him to produce it tonight. Here's Johns. Johns is over. He lost the ball. Well, Peachy's picked up the ball, but the referee's called them back for the video referee. Johns still thinks he scored.
Yeah, he's adamant he scored a try. Kiss on the cheek there for Matt Parsons. Spins around on the tackle, and does he bang it down or does he lose it? Oh, I would hate to be the video referee. There's no doubt it left his hand, but then he forced it. Over to you, Pete.
Well, look, I don't know. I'm thinking at the other end of the field when we saw Preston Campbell come through and knock the ball forward. I'm with you. I'd hate to make the decision. I think it's probably a green light, but it wouldn't surprise to go the other way. I could see a knock-on being called against that.
Well, there's no doubt that he loses the ball. Now, to prevent that to be a knock-on, he has to, under the rules, regain possession before it hits the ground. And the only question is, if it's on your fingertips, have you regained possession? That's the question that has to be asked. He certainly didn't have control on the football, and his obligation to prevent a knock-on from that is to regain possession before it hits the ground.
I think that actually comes off a Cronulla boot there. I think the ball actually comes out because the Sharks' boot hits the ball. It does.
I still wonder though, Peter, did he actually regain possession?
Oh, no, look, I agree, but I didn't realise that the reason he lost the football was because of the boot.
Keeping in mind, if the ball had been lost and then it was kicked with the boot, it would be a knock-on. But the boot has in fact dislodged the ball. Now, has Andrew got fingers on the ball with downward pressure?
I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do, whether to award it
or we're about to find out.
It is no try.
Wait for it, wait.
That's one that went your way, John.
Hold. Wait for it.
Well, I've got to say, I've seen a lot of Sharks performances this year, and John Lang will welcome that with open arms, because I've got to say, the overall rub of things, in the games I've seen, they haven't fared particularly well from the video referee this year. They've got one at a beautiful time.
I think that'll lift the Knights. They went close there. That's the closest they've been for quite a while as to scoring a try. A supreme effort from Joey Johns. It's got to lift the rest of the side.
McNicholas. Ferris is back with us. This is Nick Graham.
Last tackle.
Last tackle called on Cronulla to Dykes. Dykes gets the regather. Dykes kicks again. Tahu is with it. Tahu looks for a gap. Tahu finds the gap. Tahu brushes down towards the halfway line.
Hasn't he made some important tackles? Paul Mellor this evening. A chance out wide. Kennedy got Hughes, got McDougall.
McDougall
Oh, Preston
pulled down
Campbell.
and able to bounce up again. 25 metres out from the line. Peden. Johns.
3, Matt Rogers.
20 minutes to go.
Hold.
Johns is still struggling. Parsons. Taken by Badiris. Rudder. He tried to steer him up the middle. O'Davis. Try as they might, though. The gaps are closing. Badiris. This is Perry.
Last tackle. Hand out of there.
Johns calling the ball to the left. And there's the kick. Wide. Oh, Mark Hughes is over. Mark Hughes is over.
Hey,
Is he onside?
check again. Checking the onside and the grounding.
Okay, let's have a look. Mark Hughes caught the ball on the full. They weren't far out from the line with Andrew Johns kicking. And if they are offside, Andrew Johns will be very disappointed in his outside chases. But they look very confident over this one. Okay, let's have a look. Johns gets the football, catches it, goes line, frees it there. No problem at all. Look at the line. Here's Johns. They are all behind. This will be a try if the grounding is satisfactory.
No problems with the offside. No doubt about that. Here's the grounding. And it looks like it takes a piece of the line.
But you're right, Paul. They did lift. But what a great tackle from Preston Campbell and McDougall on the far side leading up to this. But again, they've come up with something special.
Yeah, they have. And this is the beauty of Andrew Johns' kicking game, is the fact that no one really knows what he's going to do, what to expect. So in that, Preston Campbell drifted in behind the line, expecting Johns to put a grubber in or a short one just in behind the line, but he hooked the ball out wide, found a bit of space, found his own support, and Preston Campbell got there too late. He had to come back out and just couldn't match it with Mark Hughes.
Now we've got Andrew Johns with a bung leg, trying to convert the try from not a great position to put his side in front.
There's the man that we are confident has scored a try, Mark Hughes. He's onside, the put down is okay, and we believe that he's taken a part of the line as he put it down. What does the video referee think? It's a try. It is a try for Newcastle. They are back level at 10 points all.
Yeah, as you can see, as Paul pointed out, both Preston Campbell and Colin Best came a long way in field. And it was just a matter of the ball finding the right mark. Excuse the pun, it did.
So they hit back to 10-all. There's some brave performances out there tonight. Adam Dykes, of course, dragged himself out of hospital to play today. And Andrew Johns, he probably should be in hospital with the leg that he's got. He can hardly run. Every time he puts his foot to ball, it's hurting. This is going to hurt as well. But can he steer it between the posts to give them a lead?
Johns is closing in on the record for the most points scored in a premiership season. Here he is from 10 metres in and 20 metres out. It's looking okay. They are rejoicing in the Hunter Valley at the moment. It is 12-10. Newcastle's in front. 62 minutes gone. $18 minutes to go. Matt Rogers with this high kick-off restart.
First, stand up.
Parsons. And as you come back to us, it's the second tackle for the Knights since the resumption. They find themselves in front again. Bill Peden almost putting up the arms of surrender. I think he was of the opinion maybe it was a blatant shepherd. Johns then getting this ball to roll end on end as it heads off down to that corner. Oh, Peachy!
Let him go.
It's play on for Peachy, but almost the most unfriendliest of bounces. Campbell is there to help him.
The bounce wasn't too bad. It was actually the footing again that let him down. Very similar again to the Amos Roberts incident last week. But what a great last 17 minutes. A real battle of mental toughness now.
I don't know, Peter, whether it's significant, but all of these incidents you keep referring to have happened in the same corner.
Oh, he's dropped the ball. Adam Dykes.
I think he might have a problem with the knee. Trainer asking the question.
Hold there, no time on. Hold it still, Sharks.
I think that knee is now giving Adam Dykes a problem.
Paul Mello.
Here's Johns firing it back. And Gidley, who hasn't had a lot of opportunity.
Stand up. Hold.
12 metres out from the line. Parsons.
2, to the line. Let him go. Let him go.
Badiris. Simpson.
3. To the line again.
12-10. Knights in front. Knights attacking. Johns for Kennedy. Kennedy.
That's 4.
2 metres away on the fourth tackle. Back for Johns. The kick has come down for the Sharks. And again, it might have been an example of Andrew just trying to do too much.
Vossi, what's happening down there on the sideline? I imagine there would be some frantic movement on both benches. What about the Johns injury?
Well, I can tell you about Andrew Johns exactly. To clear one thing up firstly, it is not a groin injury, it's a hip flexor injury that apparently he suffered a few weeks back. If he decides not to become the first choice goal kicker, the news is that Daniel Abraham, if he's out on the field, will become the kicker. If he's not there, Bill Peden will take over.
That's full. Move it square again, Ben. Hold here, wait.
So here we are with the Sharks trailing by 2 and 15 minutes to go. As Rogers tries to get a regather. One of the trailers picked up the ball. It was Paul Mellor.
Last tackle called. No one touched it from the Knights as Rogers kicks again.
So Davis it is who goes across to cover on his own line. Oh! Head-on tackle by Campbell. Simpson from Badiris. McDougall. Johns trying to open something up. O'Davis.
Stand up. Come on, wait here, Jason.
Kennedy. Out for Rudder. Rudder now for Hughes. Out on the wing. And almost to the halfway line. Parsons.
Just lost
and
that
losing the
football.
ball.
Now this is the opportunity that the Sharks were waiting for. They've been under siege. They have had their line crossed once.
And this is the best field position they've had for about 20 minutes. I'm just wondering what they've got left though. A lot of dummy half running and one out stuff in their second half by the Sharks.
Play by Lang. Stevens. Pulled down by Perry and Parsons and Peden.
What they've got left is Preston Campbell, David Peachy, Matt Rogers.
As Ferris plays the ball outside the 20-metre line. Now McNicholas running hard towards the centre of the park and ending on the Newcastle 10-metre line. This is their last. Now it's away for Dykes. Dykes holds it back, fires the ball for Graham. Graham back on the inside.
Turned over. Hand it over.
Well,
Beattie tackled on the last.
I think they might have bombed a try there. It was a good ball to Nick Graham. He was into some space. And on the outside, had a man unmarked. Look at Nick Graham, look out wide. Matt Rogers there. If he gets the ball, he's got plenty of space to beat Tahu as O'Davis makes a scurry.
Out to the 40-metre line. Newcastle with 4 left and the Sharks with 3. So that has turned around dramatically. The use of replacements. Play by Kennedy. Here's Hughes. And some stitches required there. I think it was the number 8, Perry, as Johns rolls it over the sideline. And there is Jason Stevens getting some help with a cramp. So the injuries are mounting.
And Paul, last weekend we had high-scoring affairs. That was great in its own way, but how good is this? 12-10.
Yeah, they don't get any better than this. Couple of points separating two teams, battling it out for a grand final berth, and two very good sides.
And we've got two teams, one who has never won a grand final, the other who won one, but they did beat half a competition as Peachy does his best, takes it outside 30. Their whole season may be coming down to 12 minutes of rugby league.
Graham.
2. Let him go. Off him. Hold.
Rogers now. For Lang and Parsons. Picks him up and throws him on the ground with a bit of help from Abraham. A Beattie to the halfway line, the big fellow.
Hands off, come on, Denny.
4th tackle gone. McNicholas running at Kennedy now, out wider.
Last. Here it is, Knights. No early.
The last tackle now for the Sharks. Campbell, Dykes, Long ball over from Graham, knocked backwards by Rogers. And the kick from Rogers will be brought back by O'Davis. I think some of the players stopped thinking there was a knock on, but I certainly didn't see one. Here's O'Davis. Back at his own 10-metre line. It was a good tackle by Jason Ferris. Now, Adam McDougall is out to the 20-metre line. Playing the ball back for Dan Badiris. Now for Tamana Tahu. And he's put down just beyond the 30-metre line.
Bring it on.
Grief. Penalty goes to Newcastle.
Well, they didn't need this, did they? Both teams getting tired late in the match. And Kennedy goes away on a big run.
Work back, come work on.
Newcastle not risking kicking for line.
2 and again back.
22 metres away from the Sharks line. Glenn Grief, 15 out now.
I'd be looking to get McDougall involved here. He still looks like the man most likely.
Johns, O'Davis on his inside. O'Davis, Johns is hurt in back play.
Hold. Hold it. Wait for it.
Well, there is great anxiety here amongst the Newcastle trainers about Andrew Johns. Obviously, Paul Simpkins was concerned.
Well, again, it was a heavy shot from Chris Beattie. Inside pass. There you see the big fella lines him up.
So Newcastle.
Last tackle.
Played by Kennedy, the last tackle. Bill Peden takes it to ground. Oh, that was a bad play for Newcastle.
Hand it over.
Beattie again.
Well, the only saving grace with handing the football over was the position of the field that had occurred.
Denny, with me, Denny.
Well, they haven't finished their sets of 6 well, Newcastle and the Sharks. They've still got something left. I think the number 9 could be a real danger for them. I think Jason Ferris can get some stuff done out of dummy half to make them very dangerous.
Back again, Glenn.
There's the completion rates. Up around 70% for both sides. Played by Lang, given by Ferris, run by Pearce. Campbell was with him, so was Peachy. Peachy's gone over the halfway. They find Brent Gross out wide. Gross is chased by Simpson. Marvellous tackle by Simpson. The ball deflected forward by Cronulla.
Oh, yeah, great game. 8 minutes to go. Beautiful ball from Peachy. And then Gross was away down that right-hand flank. And it's the big back rower coming over. This is Paul Mellor-esque. Cover defending at its best.
Ball here.
Simpson with one of the plays of the day. Scrum 20 metres away from the Newcastle line. Looking at the timepiece, we're inside the last 8 minutes now of this sudden death final. Perry has been stitched up and bandaged. Robbie O'Davis.
Don't lift. 2. Back again. Hold, Chris.
Newcastle by 2 points. Glenn Grief
3. Then go at it.
to his own 40-metre line.
Hold.
1 change for Newcastle left, 2 left for the Sharks.
Work on.
To the halfway line on the 4th tackle now. Clinton O'Brien.
Last tackle. Here it is, Andrew.
Johns off to the right. The kick spearing down to Matt Rogers. And Rogers
1. Stand up.
23 metres away from his own line. They get
2. Market square.
another chance, the Sharks. There won't be many more chances though. Martin Lang.
They would love a penalty. They need a penalty to get a piggyback out of here. That 3 tackles gone. There's not a lot of oomph at the moment. Pearce does well, but a lack of support. somehow need 2 sets of 6 in a row.
Dykes. Stewart now.
Last tackle.
Running flat as Dykes drifts across the ground. Now the last. Ferris goes for a midfield bomb that is very high. O'Davis underneath it. Preston Campbell takes the ball, but that will be a turnover.
And some of the Sharks players were claiming that Preston Campbell was tackled in mid-air by Robbie O'Davis.
Stand up.
Didn't have much choice.
Well, not much he could do about that one. He was almost falling on top of him.
Mate, with 6 minutes to go in a grand final qualifier, trailing by 2, I'd be calling for it.
On the line.
Peden.
Right there, 2. Come on, work on.
McDougall running at Beattie, running across the top of Beattie. Taken down by Best and Stevens. 35 metres away from the Sharks line. Johns for Rudder. Cutout ball. Now it's with Gidley. Gidley for Tahu.
That's 4.
25 metres away on tackle number 4 for Newcastle. With 5.5 minutes to go. Leading by 2. Johns goes to ground. 5th tackle.
Back again, no earlies. Nick.
Badeiras spears it across for Rudder. Rudder puts up a nice looking kick. They go up, they got the ball, they're over. Kennedy! Ben Kennedy has scored.
Well, that may be the one. Still a huge conversion coming from Andrew Johns, but Ben Kennedy gets the second. A very concerned John Lang. Let's have a look again at the chasers. We freeze it there. Sean Rudder kicking. Yeah, the chasers are onside. You can see they are all behind. Again, Preston Campbell is way back deep. And as play continues, he gets swamped by the chasers. McDougall and Kennedy fly against the little man onto the chest of Ben Kennedy. Can Andrew Johns now win the game with a conversion, with Kennedy possibly scoring the match-winning try?
He's had a big game, Ben Kennedy. He's run strongly, defended stoutly. This ball just hung up there, didn't it? And by the time it got to Campbell, he'd been beaten to the punch by Ben Kennedy. 16-10, 4.5 to go.
So you go back to the other end of the ground, I suppose, Paul, and you reconsider the mark by Preston Campbell where he was tackled in mid-air by Rob O'Davis. That will become a talking point, but...
Hey, I got no dramas with that one, Rabbi.
I'll tell you what I go back to, guys, as we have a look at the jubilation in the Newcastle camp. The Chris Beattie charge when they were about to get possession, 25 metres out, 6 tackles. The momentum since that moment has been one way.
15 in from touch. They're not taking any chances with a replacement goal kicker, not now. He got one from this angle earlier. 16-10, important kick. It's there, it is there. And I think Newcastle are too. It is 18-10 now as we take a break. Kick-off, battered back down by Newcastle, and Cronulla with it through David Peachey. Graham. Mellor.
Up now, 1.
Welcome back. Nine's exclusive coverage of the first preliminary sudden death final. Looking as though Newcastle will be the first team through to the grand final, unless Cronulla can pull out a miracle. From Ferris, it's gone across for Adam Dykes. He gets the ball away for Pearce, and Pearce is tackled 5 metres out from the line.
Numbers to the right if they can get it there. Slow play, the ball hasn't helped.
Ferris, Campbell. Campbell does the dancing, tries to beat the big forwards. 2 metres out from the line now. as it goes away for a lunging Pearce. Then Stevens, now Campbell. Abraham has got him and pulled him down. He's gone again, Campbell. And that is tackle number 5. 5 metres from the line, tackle 5 for the Sharks. And it is on the ground for Colin Best. It is the turnover with 2.5 minutes to go.
Well, now the frustration is the other way. Natives getting a little bit restless. The Sharks realise that time is running out.
Play the ball, play it.
8 points, 2.5 minutes. Just doesn't happen in this kind of football, especially when they've been kept scoreless since half-time.
It's been a magnificent contest. Crowd is, as I expected, in excess of 30,000. 31,438. Clinton O'Brien. The ascendancy was with one, then the other, and then back again. As Grief is tackled. 1.5 minutes to go. Newcastle, they look comfortable now.
Is that inside?
And finding the line. They've got a 40-20. They are doing the handsprings. They are doing the high fives. They know they've won it. They know they are going to Stadium Australia in 8 nights from now.
Well, that's his 4th of the year, and he won't get any greater delight than one that is absolutely perfect.
Well, there'll be now high concern.
Groin's all right there.
Tell you what, he forgot the injury pretty quickly. That ointment, get me some of that.
Where do you want us to put it?
Oh,
I can think of a few places on
it'll
you.
be it all over.
Don't waste it, rubble all over me.
Get it up. Get it up.
The nectar of the gods. There'll be great concern, though, about Joey Johns and his well-being in the next 7 or 8 days. But looking at him prancing down the ground, there's not too much wrong with Andrew Johns at the moment. 25 seconds from full time. As we look ahead now to who it is that Newcastle is going to play. Will it be Parramatta? Will it be Brisbane? What a tremendous game. Referee calling timeout. The clock has stopped at 8 seconds. The crowd knows it's over. John Lang is there congratulating the Newcastle players. It's an exit for John Lang. I was about to say an unhappy ending for John Lang, but they have done very, very well, the Sharks, to get as far as they have. And then they have gone out in an arm wrestle tonight. It is over. Newcastle has won it. Newcastle will go to their 2nd grand final. He hits it, he's got it! He's got the field goal! He's got the premiership!